Jake is in Ontario. Hi, Jake. Welcome to the Entree Podcast.
Dave, it's an honor to speak with you. I'm a longtime fan of yours. I appreciate all you do.
Well, thank you, sir. How can we help?
So I'm a co-founder and COO of a commercial HVAC company with 4 employees, myself included, that does about $1 million in annual revenue. My question revolves around the subject of specializing versus generalizing, specifically between residential, commercial, and industrial. The primary skill set of our technicians is in the commercial light industrial field, which is the niche that we'd prefer to target. However, about 20% of the revenue in the last year has been outside of that niche, mostly residential. We have the ability to do the work, and the margins are fine. We've been working it into the schedule due to our hesitation to turn away too much revenue as a growing business. However, as we scale the business, I wonder if it's wise to separate this somehow, kind of how you have done with Ramsey Solutions and the various brands that you've created, or should we be turning away this work altogether to focus our marketing, training, resources, etc., on a specialized market rather than a generalized approach? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay, 10 years from now, and you're making gross revs of $12 million, do you want that to be commercial or commercial and some residential? What kind of business do you want to grow?
Yeah, that's the type of business what we want to grow. I think our training and everything, it's difficult to mix the two just because it's from a technician standpoint, it's twice the training to train a well commercially trained. It's twice the apprenticeship program, and you have to pay twice as much to get these guys. So and it's just a different setup in general. And I think that we found kind of our happy place in commercial.
But you're just picking it up. You're just picking it up because you wanted the revenue. It wasn't because it's like the love of. Because I come out of the construction real estate world. I do a bunch of it, and on the customer side of the arrangement, my perception is these are two completely different products.
Right.
I mean, way different because the customer is different. The actual. I don't know anything about working on an HVAC unit, but the actual HVAC units have nothing to do with each other. I mean, it's like I work on motorcycles and I work on cars and I work on tanks and I work on aircraft, but I'm a mechanic. Oh my God, aircraft mechanic doesn't need to be working on my motorcycle. I mean, it's way different, isn't it?
That's what we're experiencing.
Yeah, and the customer is way different because my experience, for instance, we built this building, these complexes here on our campus we got about 600,000 commercial square feet under roof. And so my experience of working with the commercial contractor, whether it's HVAC or somebody else, is that they are very, very, very precise, very, very knowledgeable, and they've got a detailed set of specs. There is no making it up as you go whatsoever. Everything has to be exact. You got no wiggle room. But you also know exactly what the expectations are, schedule. And by the way, pay, you don't have any issue with pay. You get paid.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with professional people up and down the line. Residential, you're dealing with the public. And the customer is nuts half the time. My air conditioner's out. Oh my God, and that's me, by the way, if it's out. That's me calling you saying that. So, but and the weird thing is, if it goes out here at the building, I don't say that. I just look at somebody, and the professional maintenance team calls the professional, and it's like, then it gets fixed. Like, it's a whole different thing. So, if I were in your shoes, you said you want to build a commercial, then I'd go build the commercial. If you want to run residential for a little bit and do what you've been doing, I don't want you to necessarily lose $200,000 worth of revenue out of $1 million, but I don't want you to purposefully grow that. I would double down on the other.
Yes, and I think that's what we're thinking as well. It's tough for me. I think it's tough just being this, as we grow and everything, saying no to any potential revenue that's in our field. It makes me sick, right? Like, it's just kind of for me having.
But I'm thinking I'd have to go back and look at the budget, but I'm thinking I've got way more than $1 million in the HVAC alone in this building I'm sitting in.
Yes.
I mean, it's a 50 million. The one building I'm sitting in is $50 million. So I'm sure I got more than one of the 50 in HVAC. and you only did $1 million in commercial, or 800 in commercial, 200 in residential. So you've not picked up a building this size.
Right. Yeah, we've got some high-rise buildings we look after a decent amount, but it's service and maintenance. It's growing on that side, and one of those jobs will be 10 residential jobs.
Yeah,
right? So it's
or more. One of those jobs,
so,
the maintenance would be more than 10 residential jobs. The actual, if you actually talk about doing a large office complex or a large piece of retail or something, that could be $1 million
for sure.
Or $500,000.
We're focusing on service and maintenance.
3 $500,000 jobs, and you doubled your dadgum revenue. So that's what I want you to focus on, is developing the relationships with those contractors that are playing at that level, that are going to be your new boss, rather than spending money marketing to Joe and Susie to fix their heat and air.
Yes. Yeah. And I guess the question I just mainly was, when those things come in inevitably from just off spin of having an HVAC business. Everybody knows you have an HVAC business. I like to take it on, but again, I think in my gut, I'm thinking I need to say no to some of this, because I need to prioritize my focus and energy.
I would take. My goal would be to take fewer and fewer. You don't want to just cold turkey go to zero, because that cuts your revs 20%, unless you've got 20% increase in the commercial side, right?
Sure.
But you could say, this year we're only going to take 10%. And we're going to fill it with, and then next year we're going to take none.
Sure.
Or something like that. Or you could, over 3 years, I don't care what you do, but you see what I'm saying? You could phase it out. You could phase it out and reach the point that we just don't do that anymore, and we can't help you. I did that on a personal level. It's not related, but it's a metaphor. In that, I used to do 1,000 years ago one-on-one financial coaching when I first started, right? But I reached a point that I don't do that anymore. And so, like, one of my friends called up the other day, is going through a divorce and wants to sit down with me. And I'm like, yeah, well, I don't do that. I love you, so I'll sit with you for 15 minutes as your friend with one of my coaches in the room, and they're going to take you from here, because they're actually better at this than I am, because they do it every day. And I'm not that available. I'm not that good at it, and it's not what I do anymore. So I don't do that, and not even for one of my friends. I mean, I'll sit with them and hurt with them while they're going through this. But one of my coaches was sitting in the room and got the details, and they're going to run the thing to ground. They're going to finish the job, because I'm not. I don't do that anymore. I made that decision, and not even for friends. So you'll reach that point. But you have to have an intelligent no, and the reason for your call is very wise. Is what do I really want to be when I grow up? Where do I want to be in 10 years? Where do I want to be in 20 years? And that kind of stuff. I knew that I did not want to do one-on-one coaching for the rest of my life, because it was very limiting. I had to have a bunch of other people doing it. And that could get there. But I knew that I personally couldn't scale that. And what we're saying here is you can scale commercial a lot easier. It's a lot lower hassle business, a lot better pay business, but a lot more technical and a lot more demanding. So I think you got your answer. You knew what you wanted to do before you called, but you're wise to frame it up and ask it and walk it through. Honored to participate with you in the conversation, my friend. This is the EntreLeadership Podcast.